We're back here on the platform, and we are speaking with Ricardo Miller. And as I said, you have a story to tell the nations, Ricardo, because of the amount of social problems that we have in our own country. I'm told that you are sought after in the United States in terms of children's ministry. Tell us how you got there.
Well, when I went to the United States 13 years ago, I realized prior to leaving here, I was doing pretty well with my children's program. I had established the Abo Gentlemen's Club, and I had established the Abo Kids Club along with the Words of Work Children's Ministry, which at the time I personally believe it was pretty successful. It was thriving, it was growing. But then I relocated, and when I got to the United States, I realized that not only did we have a problem in the Bahamas, the United States has a problem as well. I went to Mexico and Barbados and Kitts, Trinidad, Jamaica. As I traveled, Canada, all of them, I still find out that at the end of the day, a lot of them have problems when it comes to relating and dealing with young people. More specifically, I decided to just focus on it from a church perspective. What is the church doing in regards to helping to bring about the developmental process of a child in partnership with the parents? So that's been my core focus. And in that, over the years, a number of magazines in the United States and television programs have labeled me. I was first in the top 20 voices, most influential voices, then the top 10 most influential voices, and last year, somebody said you're the #1 voice in children's ministry. We just continue to press, and our goal now is to build an international headquarters right here in the Bahamas to influence the world.
Well, we have some peculiar problems in our country, and boy, we need all the help we can get. And I see that you are doing some things at Mount Tabor, eh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What are you doing for them?
Well, Mount Tabor, Bishop has a passion for the generations, for the next generation as well, and just really want to see the children and youth ministry there continue to go to new levels and new heights as a progressive church. And so the next few months I've been placed there to assist with the development process of the children's department. And so we're going over every facet of the department, and working along with some incredible men and women who have a passion to reach those kids. So building a team that will reach the children throughout the community and ultimately throughout the island.
Mr. Miller, what is the significance, in your opinion, of Sunday school and the meaning of Sunday school, and why Sunday school is absent in certain denominations in this country, and the fact that churches where it is absent, they call it Christian education on Saturday. What is that? How do you read that?
It's changed. It's just times are changing so fast. And what has happened is just the Sunday school model hadn't changed. And so a lot of churches have just decided to abandon it if they were going to continue to stay current and relevant and thrive in their approach to reach young people.
But doesn't the name Sunday school have a certain significance?
Yeah, the name in itself is not where the strength has lied in the past, even though that has been the most celebrated thing. It was what it was producing. Unfortunately, it's not producing anything anymore. In most churches, they're finding themselves that is the smallest core group of people still attending. A church of 500 people, when you check out the Sunday school roster, they may have 12 to 15 people.
Yeah, but like what I said, isn't that a reflection of parenting?
It's a number of.
You can't blame a 5-year-old for not going to Sunday school.
No,
or a 6-year-old.
No, you can't. I think it's three facets. It's leadership, it's church leadership, it's parents, and it's workers. It's leadership, a whole on how they're casting the vision of a Sunday school model. It's on how they're supporting it, marketing it, bringing about all of the necessary ingredients to bring about the success. Parents, how they're supporting it and allowing their children to be a part of it, and themselves. And then workers being qualified, trained, and adequately presenting something that will cause people to want to come, because there's options now. When Sunday school was at its high, there was nothing else happening on Sunday morning. But now there are many choices. And one of the choices is constantly evolving to keep their attention, and that one is first television. Television is constantly evolving to keep their attention. However, something that has dominated in the past, be it Sunday school, has not been successful in doing the same. And so that's one of the reasons why some churches figured, okay, if we can't fix it, let's just drop it.
So, but you have to make it compelling.
You have to make it compelling.
And it has not been made compelling in this country.
No. And if you really go back to look at most Sunday school models, they're still doing the same thing for the past 25 years.
Or even more.
Or more. You know, I mean, nothing of it has changed when it comes to the presentation. And times have changed. And the young people today are not as tolerant as time past. Where they, in time past, young people were taught to just submit themselves to systems and programs that were there. Nowadays, there's an opinion. What do you think? I have an 11-year-old son, and I tell him, listen, if he asks me, he knows I'm going old school on him. If he asks my wife is more of a new school model. She gives him choice. I don't believe there's choice. What do you want to eat? No, you're 11. There's not a what you want to eat. Here's what we're eating. That's my view. Well, my wife is of the model that simply says, you know what? Hey, we're at a place in our life. If you want to eat something different, you want to eat something different. Hey, what do y'all want to eat? No, me and him can't have you all want to eat. You could ask me what I want to eat,
yes.
but he has to decide whatever we decide.
Yes.
But see, that just goes to show how times are changing. You know, I could never have come home, even though I was a wayward kid and problematic. I could have never come home one time and saw a plate of food on the table and said that was mine, and I said, well, I don't eat that.
You had to eat that.
You had to. Well, nowadays, you could take kids to McDonald's and pay for the food for them, and they look at that burger and say, this got mayonnaise on it? Sorry, I don't eat that. That's the time we're living in.
A different generation altogether.
Is that the fact that we have this generational problem, and we talk about it all the time. It's a generational problem, stemming from the fact that parenting. It goes back to parenting.
Right.
You know, in many of these homes in Nassau today, there's only one parent, and in many of these places, people live in apartments.
Right.
You know, one time ago, even though it may not have been the most hygienic or the most, people live in yards.
Right.
And there was sort of a symbiotic community kind of relationship, where even if one was a son of a single mother, one still had the people in the yard.
Right. But back then, though, even then, principles were taught by everybody. Now people are saying, I don't want to get in your business. Yeah. If that's the way you're raising your child, then that's your business. And then some parents will tell you, don't leave me alone, because this is the way I am going to raise my child. So, but there was, at that time, it wasn't that's the way I'm raising my child. No, everybody was involved in planting a seed, planting a thought, giving some level of input that was helping to raise a child.
Mr. Miller, it's interesting that you say that, because our value system has changed, right?
Yeah.
There's a shifting of value systems, and I guess this is a constant thing. But there were certain things that we grew up on, certain sayings. And I said on a program that the most important thing that a person should have, quoting Benjamin Mays, is a faith to keep and a song to sing. And you were taught to keep a faith.
Right.
You were taught certain sayings. Honesty is the best policy.
Yeah.
Manners will take you around the world.
Do unto others as you would have
the golden rule, and all these things. The newer generation has not been imbued or infused with those type things.
Right.
And so they have become a very disrespectful, polysocialized, and in many ways uncivilized generation.
But that goes to training, all training.
Yes.
And in training, I personally believe it's training on all facets. I think school has its part to play. I think church has its part to play. I believe the I believe the community has a part to play. I think the home has a part to play.
But it's the home most of all. Most important, isn't it?
The home is
home.
the most important,
It's
but
the
where
base.
we are as a country, for us to stay there thinking about only meeting that need from the home basis only,
No, not only.
Yeah.
But the home has to be that reinforcement
It has to
even
be.
for the school.
it really has to be. But what I've found out is sometimes you have to go ahead of the time. And one of the things we have as a theme this year is called Think Next Generation. So everything we're doing, we're not talking about where kids are now. We're talking about where they're going to be. So every time I'm meeting with 10-year-olds and 9-year-olds, I'm talking about you're going to be 25. I'm going ahead of them. Most parents lose their children because they're dealing with the now. By the time you got a boyfriend, what are you doing with that boy? By the time you're talking about what are you doing with that boy, it's too late. I see you hanging with them boys who's smoking. It's too late. You need to be dealing with preemptive moves.
Tell me, Mr. Miller, and the thugs that we have now, the people who are creating mayhem in the society are young men in their 20s.
Right.
Okay? Is that a lost generation?
No, they're not fully.
Because they have not been dealt with. We have not given them the attention that they needed. And so they are the young men in particular who are creating havoc in the society. How do you reach them, or are you writing them off?
What you have to do, what changed me was not the now. Where I was standing on that corner right then, if you had talked to me about where I was at that moment, would have not changed my mind, because one, I felt like I was king of the hill. At the time, me and my friends were sort of having bragging rights of having a reputation that was growing throughout the island, having girls, having a little money, having this little reputation that was growing. So at that point, for you to stop me, which people were trying to do, I had uncles who were trying to stop me. My mother was stopped. My grandmother who cried. I had aunts and uncles who was like, boy, you got to change. You're going to die in the street. I was at this point where they were talking about the now. What had shifted was later.
You were looking at when you want to,
where am I going?
Where you're going and where you're going to be at 40.
We don't talk about that with young people.
All right.
Mr.
So we need to reach the fella now and say, boy, where you going to be at 40? Or 50?
When you sit down with a 21-year-old now and a 24-year-old now, and you say, you know what, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you'll be 50. What are you going to do? Well, you sober them down right there. Shut them right down. Because it is nothing about who they is right now. It's all about, whoa. And then if they look back in the reflection, like what you mentioned early on, you don't want to be at a certain age where you're financially challenged.
Right.
You don't want to be at a certain age where you haven't secure a future that you can be proud about. That right there, I looked at it and I thought, man, I want something different. I want a family.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I think has us confused as a society is that we emulate what happens in America too much. You know, we always look to America for validity.
Right.
There must be a difference, Mr. Miller, between an American youth and a Bahamian youth. Because they're brought up in two different environments, two different sociological conditions. So I have a concern when you try to transplant methodologies that work there without really adapting those methodologies to the circumstances.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
You agree with that?
Look, and I agree with you. You have to watch that.
These young fellas around here, they behave like Americans, you know.
They don't understand. See, I think it's Dr. Miles Monroe said, where purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable. When you don't understand the full purpose for a thing and you start gleaning is dangerous. I used to learn most of what I knew from gleaning. Gleaning is I watch you from a distance and perceive this is who make you who you are. From what I see from a distance, which isn't true. There's a lot more behind what I'm seeing from a distance. And that's one of the reasons why mentorship is important. That's why it's important for us to have shows that really says, you know what, it's a show. Reality show is programmed. They're working on ratings. It's television programs. The movie Scarface, popular that it was back in the day, it's still popular now. When we were watching it on Soldier Road, we never watched the end. The guy died in the end, a horrible death. But we were, boy, Scarface was the man. That's my boy. Boy, if you call me Scarface, and that's the mindset, right? Because they weren't seeing the full understanding of even what the producers might have said. We didn't produce it to be a show that would create a violent group of people that would breed from the show. No, it wasn't. But they gleaned the wrong concept. But there weren't after books, after talk moments that says, you know what? Look at the breakdown of this show and this television program or the movie, and look at the lifestyle of what this guy could have done with his life positively, and look where he ended up. Purposeless young people everywhere will destroy their lives and reap havoc on a community. And that's what we're having. What we have is we have young people who don't know what they want. They're going to school and they're just drifting.
And they don't know who they are.
They don't know who they are. You know?
Yeah.
They don't know who they are, so they're drifting.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I picked up an analogy a long time ago, and that was drifting boats hit reefs. Eventually it hit a reef and it destroy itself. If you're just drifting, you know, it's just, what are you about? Where are you going? Well, as soon as I figured out what I wanted, as soon as I figured out what I didn't want, everything started to change. And what we have to do is we have to get young people. That's why I tell kids, that's why I'm more of a preventive specialist. I'm not into the various other programs. I specialize in meeting with the 8-year-old, the 9-year-old, the 12-year-old, and say, listen, let's talk about this. You're going to be 28. You know, 6 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Let's talk about that. What are you doing today that will make you, at that point, what you want to be?
Or a better person.
Or a better person. And in that perspective, and moving from that point of view, I've been doing this 17 years. I'm now having success stories. My radio show that I have in Dallas, the music that comes on before was a girl who sang for the first time because I asked her, what do you think you like doing? She said, I like to sing. I said, how about coming and sing in our children's church? And she was, 10 years old at the time. That's 12 years ago. She's 22 now. And she sings at a church, travel around the world, got an album, a CD. And you know what's on the little CD says? Ricardo Miller gave me my moment. Because I wasn't talking about her in the, do you want some snacks? What is your favorite game? No, I want to know, what do you feel in you that's supposed to be given to the world? She said, I think I can sing. I said, I want to help you sing. Yeah.
So you believe that your theory of putting these young people at a certain period in the future is a motivating factor.
I think it's a major motivating factor. I think it could be a major motivating factor.
Yeah,
it may not be for
I want you to know what can you do with, you said you are from Washington Street, right? You don't know where Washington Street is. We can tell them where Washington Street is. So we want to know what you're going to do with the fellow with the long gun or the sawed-off shotgun, who is in Washington Street now. He's 17.
Right.
The fellow who got his piece hidden in the bushes.
Right.
Or who goes to school with a long knife.
Right.
And he hides the knife until after school.
Right.
What you could do with him, because you see, those are that age group, late teens,
25.
mid-20s, they are the people who are creating havoc in this society today.
Well, and there's a special group that needs to be specializing in them, like a Carlos Reed and a Dave Burrows, who have been trying to work with young people, which positively influenced me early on when I crossed over into this lifestyle that I'm on now. I believe, once again, you're going right into those who are problematic. I think we need to dominate as a positive standpoint in the primary schools.
No, but we need to change them too.
We do.
You see,
but that's a different calling,
while
though.
we can work on the people at the primary school level, your specialty, the problem that the society has right now is the age group who are walking down Bank Lane, chained at the leg and at the risk.
Right. But the problem will continue when we just keep the focus on them.
No.
That's and I know that's not what you're saying. But that's what has been happening for the most part. And let me tell you one of the things I was starting to tell you a little bit earlier when we were off the show. I said I pull back on my testimony a little bit when I speak, and I was corrected to say, you know what, you need to share your story because you really have a story. I pull back on that story because I believe that young people sometimes don't know how to appreciate the message when it's presented with certain storylines. In other words, boy, he was cold, eh? I didn't know he did that. And so they walk away just saying, you heard the speaker? He used to slap off fella's head when he was at C.H. Reed. And they walk off the fella, say he slap. They didn't hear I went to academia. They didn't hear I sit down in a room learning how to read at 18. You see what I'm saying? They lock off into
the negatives.
The negative. So what we have been doing, go to any school most of the time when they're bringing in speakers. They don't bring in speakers who've done it well, who've done it right. How many speakers? Well, you see, well, that's not, kids ain't going to listen to that. What you focus on is what you get. What you magnify is what you put your attention on is what magnifies and what grows.
No, but you represent a story. You have a potent story. You have a compelling story for people in your age group now. And it's people in your age group that are problematic in the society today. The Her Majesty's prison is got about 2,000 people at your age.
Right.
About 2,000 of them.
Mostly.
And we want to stop expanding the jail. All right? Because there are some people who believe that all you need to do is jail people. Just warehouse them and build bigger jails. How are we going to reduce the population in the jail? How are we going to reduce the population in Her Majesty's prison?
Let me ask this.
But let me make this point. We as Bahamians got to make up our mind, Mr. Joe. Because I've heard you raise the same subject on your radio show. And then I heard some callers say, well, it's prison. I'm against the name correctional facility.
Yeah, but
some people do not see rehabilitation.
Yeah, good, all right.
They see punishment.
But there's a way to rehabilitate people.
No.
But I want to know from Mr. Miller, how are we going to reduce the population in our prisons and reduce recidivism in our prisons?
Great question. The Bible says in Galatians 6 and 7, whatever you sow is what you reap. What are the positive seeds that are being sown to change what we're currently experiencing? How many parenting seminars and workshops that are being held around here? Do you know when I was here prior to leaving and I was running a program that had almost 1,000 boys in it, I knew at that time, listen, we had a lot of women. I don't have the exact numbers, but a lot of women who have kids have no idea on what they're supposed to be doing with these kids. They never even saw how their parents raised them. They only gleaned some things along the way, saw some things from a distance. So I came up with a concept called preparing for children in the family. Preparing for children in the family seminar. And I asked a number of colleagues, professionals to come in and speak. And I remember doing the first one, and it was about 150 people showed up at the Crystal Palace. And I was about to do another one in Quarterly. And somebody said, who gave you the right? You don't even have no children. You ain't married. And at the time, I was maybe, 21? And man, listen, I walked off that parking lot like the person gave me a blow to the face. And I was like, you know what? That don't even make no sense. You know what? I ain't going to do that no more. I'm just going to focus on the kids. 150 people showed up to the preparing for children in the family because that's needed. We have a school system here for girls who are pregnant, right? I've never been to it, but I was told that. Now, who's impregnating those girls? And how are we educating our culture or our community to say, you know what, we're not going to just allow the problem to continue to be, but we're going to create programs, and we're going to really create programs. I'm talking about identifying the success factor, tracking them. I think churches need to track. In other words, when we say you have 1,000 young people coming to you for 3 years, what in the world has changed? If you have 300 and you have 300 and I have 300, over time, 12 disciples change the world. Why in the world each one of our 300 aren't changing this island? Can we stop and evaluate what we're doing and ask ourselves, are we just keeping kids or are we training kids?
Okay, let's take this break. This is the final break on our program. We'll come right back.